The Marvel Cinematic Universe has always excelled at one thing above most, turning a familiar comic book beat into a tense emotional moment that redefines the parameters of a franchise. With Avengers, Doomsday on the horizon, speculation is hotter than ever, and one thread of theory has captured fan imagination in a particularly potent way, that the real villain of the film may not be an external conqueror alone, but an Avenger who breaks ranks and joins the side of Doom. This essay explores that theory, why it makes narrative sense, what clues have pushed fans to entertain it, who the likely candidates could be, and how such a betrayal would fit into the larger architecture of the MCU's multiverse-driven saga. With that being said, expect spoilers. Duh. From the outset, Avengers Doomsday is being positioned as a major ensemble milestone. The MCU's multiverse saga has already bent genres, timelines, and expectations, and Doomsday looks set to be one of the capstones of that long-running narrative arc. When a franchise scales up to such an epic level, combining cosmic stakes with personal stakes, the most devastating twist isn't always a dramatic battle scene. It's a personal betrayal. If one of the Avengers were to side with Victor Von Doom, the emotional fallout could be more disruptive and meaningful than any explosion of power. That is why the traitor theory resonates. It transforms a large-scale catastrophe into an intimate drama of trust, ideology, and consequence. What distinguishes this scenario from past Avengers films is the direction of the threat. Historically, the team faced external enemies, an alien invasion, a godlike trickster, a corrupted AI, and survived by forging unity. A traitor, conversely, would replicate the conflict from within. The psychological complexity increases. Audiences would not only watch the hero struggle against doom, but against their uncertainty about one another. Dramatically, this allows the film to explore themes of loyalty, leadership, and the moral compromises that come with wielding power. For a storyline tied into the multiverse and Secret Wars level stakes, a traitor within the team can make the stakes feel visceral and immediate. Why have fans latched onto this theory? A few factors feed the speculation. First, the MCU's recent phases have relied heavily on misdirection, false leads, surprise cameos, red herrings, and have demonstrated Marvel Studios' willingness to sacrifice beloved characters for narrative shock or to recast expectations. Second, the source material offers precedent. Doom is a complex antagonist in the comics, one who pursues political control, scientific supremacy, or even twisted visions of order. All motivations that could plausibly attract a superhero who doubts the existing moral framework. Third, interviews, cryptic trailer shots, and carefully staged promotional material have a habit of being read as clues. Fans naturally parse every frame and soundbite for subtext. When a studio known for secrecy releases ambiguous images, conspiracy theories proliferate. The rumors and leads fueling such theories are often slender. An offhand interview with a cast member, a leaked line of dialogue, transmuted into a spoiler, or a frame in a trailer that could be read multiple ways. None of these are definitive proof, but cumulatively they create a narrative of possibility. The MCU's promotional strategies, which often include deliberate misdirection, add to the fog. Or do they? It's important to remember that in most cases these clues are as much about cultivating buzz as revealing plot. Still, the mere plausibility of a traitor enriches the fan conversation. It encourages debates about which characters could realistically flip, what Doom's persuasive tactics would be, and how the team would handle betrayal. So who might the traitor be? Fan speculation can be grouped into a few archetypes, each with its own logic. The first archetype is the morally conflicted leader, an Avenger whose judgment has been eroded by loss or the burden of command. In past MCU phases, leadership roles come with compromises. When a leader sees sacrifice as a necessary currency to save many, their judgment can be exploited. The second archetype is the ideologically driven hero, someone who believes in a different model of order and finds Doom's vision compelling, at least on a superficial level. The third archetype is the covertly compromised Avenger, one who has personal ties, secrets, or vulnerabilities that Doom leverages. Each archetype maps onto different characters depending on their recent arcs, relationships, and established weaknesses. Among specific candidates named in fan conversations, there are a few who organically fit these archetypes. A character who has experienced heavy personal loss or been forced into morally ambiguous choices could be seen as ripe for persuasion. Another possibility is a character who has a history of skepticism about authority or who has flirted with dangerous pragmatism. Their intellectual or ideological affinity for a strong, decisive ruler could make Doom's arguments dangerously attractive. The MCU has also introduced new and reimagined characters whose allegiances are not yet cemented in fans' minds. Ambiguity can be fertile ground for betrayal narratives. Importantly, these conjectures remain speculative. Without official confirmation from Marvel, they exist as interesting hypotheses rather than facts. Examining how this twist would function within the MCU's broader context is instructive. The multiverse saga has broadened Marvel's palette. Stakes are not only consequential to single timelines, but ripple across realities. Secret Wars looms as a looming endpoint where realities collide and identities are remixed. A traitor in Doomsday could catalyze that collision by aligning a core Avenger with multiversal authoritarian aims. Doom himself, in many comic incarnations, seeks not mere conquest but ideological transformation, sometimes presenting himself as a messiah who can save worlds through order. If the film leans into that nuanced portrayal, Doom's recruitment of an Avenger would not be a simple seduction, but a philosophical seduction. He offers certainty in a fractured multiverse. Narrative secrecy has always been a tool in MCU storytelling. Marvel uses surprise, not merely for shock value, but to preserve emotional payoff. A betrayal, to land, needs to be earned. It should feel rooted in character development rather than imposed by plot necessity. That requires careful staging, seeds of doubt, credible motives, and scenes that retrospectively make the betrayal feel inevitable. The payoff is richest when audiences can look back and see the strands of foreshadowing woven into the film's tapestry. It's how a franchise transforms a twist from a gimmick into a memorable, character-driven moment. There are risks too. Betrayals can alienate audiences if they feel unjustified or if beloved characters are mishandled. Moreover, shifting a hero's allegiance toward a villain can complicate future storytelling. The MCU must balance the shock of the moment with long-term continuity, redemption arcs, and franchise economics. Marvel has navigated similar moves before, turning conflicts into redemption or tragic consequences. The success of a traitor twist in Doomsday would depend on careful character work, the plausibility of Doom's reasoning, and the film's willingness to explore the moral gray zones such a plot invites. Beyond plot mechanics, a traitor subplot gives filmmakers the chance to interrogate big ethical questions. What does it mean to be a protector when the world faces annihilation? At what point do ends justify means? How much moral compromise is acceptable in the service of survival? These questions have contemporary resonance and, when embedded in a superhero epic, allow viewers to engage with real philosophical dilemmas through the lens of spectacle. If Doomsday uses a betrayal to probe these themes, the film could elevate itself beyond a standard action set piece into something more thematically ambitious. As with any major franchise speculation, there is a performative element to fan theories themselves. Debates about traitors function as a communal exercise in narrative reasoning, where viewers test their understanding of character and predict the consequences of choices. Whether or not the theory proves accurate, it enhances engagement and provides a lens through which viewers will watch the film. Trailers and teasers may be consumed not only for spectacle, but as pieces of evidence. Interviews may be scrutinized for evasions. Each revealed scene will be parsed for signs of treachery. In that sense, the theory has already succeeded. It has deepened anticipation and created layers of expectation that the film will need to navigate. In conclusion, the idea that the Avengers might contain a traitor in Avengers, Doomsday is compelling for several reasons. It offers a powerful emotional hook, it aligns with the franchise's increasing willingness to embrace moral complexity, and it dovetails with Doom's comic book portrayals as a rhetorically persuasive antagonist. While the arguments for any specific character's betrayal are speculative and rooted mainly in interpretive reading of limited promotional material, the broader narrative logic holds. A betrayal amplifies stakes by making conflict personal and ideological, not merely physical. Whether Marvel chooses to follow this path remains to be seen. but the possibility alone transforms Doomsday from a forthcoming action spectacle into a potential study of loyalty, ideology, and the costs of power. As the release date approaches and more official details surface, fans will have the chance to see whether these theories hold. Until then, the traitor hypothesis remains a rich framework for thinking about character motivations and narrative strategy in one of the MCU's most anticipated chapters. If Marvel does opt for such a twist, it could mark a bold step in the franchise's evolution, one that tests not only the Avengers' strength but the audience's expectations of what heroism looks like in a fractured, multiversal age. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep dives, Easter egg analysis, and fan theory explorations about upcoming movies and the MCU, please subscribe to Richard Barron Horror.